Welcome to Bookscape Epic Reads, where we dive deep into the world of popular books, exploring timeless classics and modern bestsellers alike. Join us for in-depth reviews, insightful discussions, reflections. Let roll. In an age of upheaval, uncertainty, and the collapse of long-held truths, René Descartes stood at a crossroads. The Europe of the early 17th century was a continent in flux. Wars of religion, the crumbling authority of the church, and the slow, persistent dawn of scientific discovery. Knowledge, once governed by tradition and theological authority, was now under scrutiny. What was true? What could be known with certainty? In this uncertain world, Descartes did not seek refuge in belief. He turned instead inward, into the only place where certainty might still be found, the self. What he produced from this profound introspection was not merely a philosophical treatise. It was a method, a radical reimagining of how we come to know anything at all. That work is Discourse on the Method, a deceptively simple title for a book that would forever alter the foundations of philosophy, science, and human reason. But this is not a cold, academic text. It is, at heart, a story. A deeply personal confession of intellectual struggle, filled with the courage to doubt and the audacity to rebuild thought from the ground up. Let us now journey with Descartes, not merely to understand his method, but to feel the very pulse of an age waking up from its slumber. Descartes begins not with definitions or dogmas, but with a memory, a reflection on his own education. He tells us he had access to the finest schools, studied all the great subjects, grammar, poetry, mathematics, theology, logic, ethics, and philosophy. And yet, when all was said and done, he found himself disillusioned. What did he truly know? So much of what passed as learning seemed based on the authority of those who came before. Philosophers contradicted one another. Theologians argued endlessly. Scientists relied on assumptions that could not be verified. In the end, Descartes saw clearly. The edifice of knowledge that Europe had built was resting on sand. He concluded that a radical act was needed to sweep everything away and begin anew. Like an architect who must demolish a crumbling structure before constructing a stable one, Descartes resolved to doubt everything that could possibly be doubted. Don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe. And from this doubt, he would seek one immovable point, a foundation upon which a new method of knowledge could be constructed. From this personal crisis emerged the heart of the Discourse, a four-step method that would guide Descartes and perhaps all of humanity out of the chaos of uncertainty. Accept nothing as true that is not clearly known to be so. Never accept anything without evidence so self-evident that no doubt could remain. Every belief must pass through the fire of reason. Divide each problem into as many parts as necessary. The most complex puzzles can be solved if broken down into simpler components. Simplicity breeds clarity. Start with the simplest problems and move gradually to the more complex. Let understanding build, one step at a time, from the firm ground of clarity to the peaks of comprehension. Make thorough reviews so nothing is overlooked. Certainty demands completeness. Every conclusion must be double-checked, every piece reassembled into a whole. This was no longer the method of Aristotle or the scholastics. It was not the path of mere faith or tradition. It was the method of the individual thinker, guided by the inner light of reason, and Descartes insisted that this method was not his alone. He offered it humbly, not as a dogma, but as a tool for any human being willing to think clearly and honestly. But Descartes was not so naive as to believe that life could simply pause while one rebuilt their belief system. People must act. Decisions must be made. Life cannot wait for final certainty, so he devised a provisional morality, a kind of temporary ethical framework to live by while the house of knowledge was under reconstruction. Obey the laws and customs of one's country and religion, remaining faithful to the moderate and sensible traditions around him, until reason provided better grounds, tradition offered stability. Be firm and decisive in action, even if one is uncertain. A hesitant mind, Descartes warned, is paralyzed. Better to act with resolve than not at all. Change oneself rather than the world. True power lies in mastering one's desires, not in controlling external events. Happiness comes from aligning our will with what is in our power to control. Dedicate one's life to the pursuit of truth, using reason as one's compass, and devoting time to the methodical uncovering of knowledge. Don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe. In these principles, we glimpse Descartes not only as a philosopher, but as a man seeking to live wisely in an imperfect world. And then, like a bolt of lightning in the night, Descartes makes his breakthrough. After doubting everything, his senses, his body, the world, even mathematics, he discovers one truth that survives. He is thinking. And if he is thinking, he must exist. Cogito, ergo sum. I think, therefore I am. This is not a trivial observation. It is the first absolute certainty in the modern era. Even if a demon were deceiving him, that deception itself would require a subject, a consciousness, to be deceived. From this indubitable truth, Descartes builds upward. He explores the nature of the self as a thinking thing. He distinguishes mind from body. And then he turns to a question that has haunted philosophy for millennia. Does God exist? Descartes argues that within him is an idea of a perfect being, an idea of God. This idea, he says, could not have originated from himself, since he is a finite, imperfect creature. Therefore, the idea must have come from something that truly possesses that perfection. That source, he concludes, must be God. Furthermore, because God is perfect, God cannot be a deceiver. A perfect being would not create a world built upon illusion. Therefore, the external world exists. Our senses may err, but they are not fundamentally deceptive. Here, Descartes closes the circle, from doubt to self, from self to God, from God to the world. But his journey does not stop at metaphysics. He turns next to science, biology, and the nature of the human body. Descartes envisions the human body not as a mystical vessel, but as a machine, a finely tuned physical system governed by laws. He compares it to a clock or automaton. It breathes, digests, moves, and responds to stimuli, all through mechanical principles. This is a radical departure from the Aristotelian view of nature. No longer are living beings defined by souls that animate them in mysterious ways. Instead, Descartes opens the door for biology and physics to explain life through cause and effect. Yet, while the body is mechanical, the mind, the res cogitans, or thinking substance, remains non-physical. It is indivisible, immaterial, and cannot be explained by matter alone. Thus emerges Cartesian dualism, two substances, mind and matter, interacting but distinct. This dualism will shape the next 400 years of debate in philosophy, psychology, and neuroscience. In the final part of his discourse, Descartes explains his reasons for publishing the work. He does not claim infallibility. In fact, he expects criticism, but he believes the method he offers is valuable not just for himself, but for all humanity. Don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe. He envisions a future where human knowledge is grounded in certainty, where science flourishes by applying reason, and where philosophy returns to its original mission, to seek wisdom. He speaks not as a master, but as a fellow traveler on the road to truth. He invites others to adopt his method, to doubt boldly, and to seek clarity in all things. René Descartes was not the first to ask what can be known, but he was perhaps the first to ask it with such radical honesty. Discourse on the method is more than a work of philosophy. It is a declaration of intellectual independence, a charter for a new way of thinking. In declaring, "I think, therefore I am," Descartes does not simply affirm existence, he affirms the dignity of reason itself. In a world that offered only authority, tradition, and inherited belief, Descartes carved out a space for the individual mind to stand on its own, and so, centuries later, we continue to live in the world he helped build, a world where doubt is no longer a weakness, but a virtue, where truth is not dictated, but discovered, where thought is the foundation of freedom. Don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe.